thanks for tuning in and joining us. My name is Lori Puckett, and we are going to talk about something very special today, brought to you by the History Center of Traverse City. Now with me from the History Center of Traverse City is Maddie, and Maddie is the event and exhibit coordinator over at the History Center, and also Dennis. We have Dennis Kent. He is a volunteer at the History Center of Traverse City and also is the project coordinator for this special project. Now the project is a 1940 film restoration, and this was a 1940 film that was found in the History Center archives. Is that correct?
Correct, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, about almost 3 years ago now. It was donated to the History Center by the Exchange Club of Traverse City,
okay.
And they produced it in 1940 for a fundraiser for their work as a helping disadvantaged children, what we would call at-risk kids today.
Okay. And we have, starting out, a little bit of a clip, right? So we can kind of see what we're talking about
Yeah,
here?
wouldn't you always like to see what Traverse City looked like in 1940?
Sure.
It's awesome. So this is a good way to get going, and we'll see Traverse City in 1940. We'll go back in our Wayback Machine here.
Okay, so what we're going to see is Front Street. Is that correct?
Front Street,
okay.
right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is Front and Cass, looking west.
And the first car coming down is the police chief's car and the Whiting Hotel in the background. And we have the two newest fire trucks in the fleet, and we are hoping to have those available running down Traverse City streets again next month.
All right, this looks like a great project. Why don't we get into it and you tell us a little bit about this project. It's called We're in the Movies, right?
That was the name of the film. In 1940, it was done by a company in Fostoria, Ohio, who did this as going through different towns and as fundraisers for different events. And here we get to see people in full color.
So we're getting a look at a little bit of a teaser of what we're going to see with this project, We're in the Movies. Why don't you tell us how the project actually came about?
Well, like you mentioned, we found the film in the archives, and I started doing a little research on it and found out it was a pretty unique film. It was professionally done, and but the intimidating part was to have it restored was going to involve quite a bit of money.
Okay.
So I started being interested in the people that were in the film and researching them, and I went through and was looking at Traverse City Record Eagle newspaper articles and getting their names and things of that nature, and then went and applied for a grant with the National Film Preservation Foundation.
Okay.
Now, to get a grant from them, you had to prove that this was a film of national significance, and so we made our case with the research that we had done, and they agreed, and so it was very a nice validation that have them come back and say, we think enough of this that we'll give you $8,100 to get it restored.
Nice.
Because we were looking at doing a professional restoration. They would take and do what they call a wet gate process, where they'd clean the film. Film gets degraded over time, so they'd saturate the colors back to where they would have been in 1940, and sharpened up the image so you can actually read the newspapers and when people are holding them up, and did a wonderful job on it.
Now, did the cost, was that totally taken care of by the grant, or did some private people fund that as well? Or?
No, we had a lot of support from the community on that. The funding from the National Film Preservation Foundation only covered the restoration of the film. To turn it to a DVD that people could actually view and to put a music bed on it, we had a lot of support. We had the NMC college students helped us with it through the communications department. We had people who stepped up and paid for a music bed to go on the film, and we had brochures printed up, and people helped with the cost of that. So it's been a lot of help from a lot of people. Good,
good. And again, we do have Maddie Buteyn here, that is, I'm sorry about that, exhibit and events coordinator at the History Center. And Maddie, why did the History Center feel that this was such a worthwhile project?
Well, when you go to the History Center, you want to see the history of Traverse City, right? And how can you do that just by looking at pictures without truly... Movies make you go more back in time than just looking at a picture, because you get to see things moving and you get to see people's personalities more through a movie than just a picture or a story. Sure. So this actually, I think it really does pull you back in time, especially if you watch it and then go downtown, and especially that it's premiering down at the State Theater, which is downtown. So when you come out of the theater after seeing it, you can remember or feel like you remember what it was like back in 1940.
Good. So why don't you tell us what the mission of the History Center, while we're talking to you, what the mission is altogether of the History Center?
It's basically, we're preserving the history of the Grand Traverse area, and so we want people to understand and to to remember what Traverse City came from.
Okay.
So to understand, it started as a lumber town and then moves up and it becomes like a happening place.
Sure.
So, and through that, when you go to the History Center or when you come to Heritage Days, you'll understand that. And Heritage Days is actually on the same day of the movie premiere, which is September 8th.
Wow, okay.
So,
got a lot going on at the History
oh,
Center
yes.
on that day. Were you guys able to contact some of the people or the families of people who were in the film?
Well, that's what makes this so critical, is we are losing those people.
Yeah.
And of all the people that were in this film, and there's hundreds of them, I've only been able to find one person who's still around. Now, I found some relatives of some of them, but we're hoping by, shows like this and people becoming more aware of it, that we'll be able to find a few more. And then with the premiere, we'll hope to find some more.
Okay.
The focus of this film being 1940 is particularly important because, as we have talked about, thanks to Tom Brokaw's books, the Greatest Generation has become almost trite. We talk about the people of this time frame. Well, what is it that made those people the greatest generation? They grew up during the Depression. They knew hard times. They came back after defeating fascism, and they built up this town the rest of the way. But before we got to that point, what went into making the characters that built Traverse City? So this shows us that little slice of time before the war when we were just starting to feel our oats and things were going to explode literally in Traverse City and all over the country as World War II developed and we geared up to fight the menace.
This is, I took a look at this film and it's absolutely fascinating and amazing to see downtown Traverse City. And you're so used to seeing two-dimensional black and white photos or even some color photos of this time period of people who were, had a lot to do with Traverse City's development. And you see the photographs and you say, okay, there's Glenn Loomis. But to see them walking around three-dimensional in this film is absolutely amazing. Yeah. They're right in front of you, rich color, very smooth-looking film, and it's kind of fascinating to see that.
Well, as a young man, I remember, like, for example, Julius Slutter here with the Ford dealership. Well, I always knew him as an older man, and he was like the pillar of the community. He had been the mayor, and he had done a lot for Traverse City. In this film, we see him as a young man in his maybe 20. He's a young, skinny little guy. He plays the photographer in this film. He also plays a farmer. He's got a dual role. And it is so cool to see this man that I used to know in one way and see him in a different context.
Sure.
This was Julius Slutter, 0.10,
yeah.
something like that.
The cool thing too is you watch this and you realize, you see the dress, the automobiles, how Front Street looked back in the day. And you don't see anybody walking around texting. And it's kind of nice not to see that. Nobody's talking on cell phones. It's a different time, and it's cool.
And that's the fun part. Like during the premiere, we're going to have at least 5 of cars that we're going to try to get the fire truck, and then we have what is that car that you got? The green one.
1940 Buick.
Yeah, which is in the film, and we're going to have them parked downtown in front of the theater. So it kind of transforms that whole area because the theater looks like it still belongs in the 40s.
Sure.
But that area will make everybody feel back in the 40s.
Back in the 40s. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about that premiere? When the date is, how can people come to it, the time? How does the general public become involved in the premiere?
Okay, so Heritage Days, it's $5 to come into Heritage Days, which is in Hanna Park and at the History Center. So you can go into our new exhibit, Legends, and then go through Hanna Park as visiting different heritage of this area. And then if you want to go to the premiere, it's $5 for the premiere as well. You can buy the tickets all at one time, or if you just want to go to the premiere of the movie, you can go down at the State Theater and purchase a ticket for $5. And all the proceeds go back to the History Center to help us keep projects like this going and to find more things to get more interest in the History Center.
Sure, good. And speaking of the History Center, and the money goes back to the History Center, what are some other ways that people can get involved in the History Center?
You can become a member, which will help us do more projects like this, but you can also become a volunteer. We always need volunteers to help out with different programs, and anyone helps.
Okay. Well, doing fun stuff like this would be really cool for volunteers and students. Speaking of students, you had some students involved in this project, correct?
Yeah, we had students from Northwestern Michigan College, the communications department, and they designed our did all the graphics for the DVD labels and the booklet. Okay. And this will be available. Hold on, let me get that in there. Thank you. This will be available for sale after the premiere. This is a great thing to have. Not only does it have the movie we're talking about, we had previously restored a short amateur film from 1939 of the Cherry Festival Parade, and that's on that, going to be on that as well.
Okay.
When this film was done in 1940, it was really impressive the way they did marketing for this, because what they did is they had a constant drumbeat up to the time of the film coming out, pushing what was going on in any particular day. When you look through the Record Eagle archives, the paper every day had an article of some sort in the paper about what was going on. And to get everybody involved in it, then they would have a movie queen contest where you could nominate your girlfriend or your sister or whatever to be the movie queen.
Now let's go ahead and show the queens, and go ahead and tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, the young lady in the left of center with the corsage was the top vote getter, and in a nail-biting finish right up to the very last end, she was the top vote getter, but she got in a very last quick-minute finish, Ida Marie Lorenz there, who is just behind our waitress there, was the one that came out. We have Mary, our heroine of the film here. She and her fiance were both in the film. Her fiance is Joe for the film purposes, and they actually were an engaged couple, and they got married on Thanksgiving Day in 1940. Okay. And now the girls are getting the big news. Their movie director is going to come to Traverse City. Ooh! I'm going to have my nails done and my hair. Definitely have to have the hair done.
Now, this wasn't just an historic film. It was also a bit of a story. There's a storyline involved here, which makes it even more interesting.
There is. It was a common storyline that the J.B. Rogers Film Company did all the way across when they did this in various communities. They did thousands of these, either as a film or as a live stage presentation across the country and in Canada.
Okay.
But there's not a whole lot of them that are around. I had the one gentleman's going to bring his car for Heritage Days, was telling me that he remembered in February of 1940, a month after this film was shot, being at home sick, and his dad came home and he had just bought a brand new 1940 Buick. And so he's bringing a 1940 Buick to cool. Heritage Days for our premiere.
That's cool. Now, how many people actually were involved? How many people did it take to pull something like this off? Just a core group of volunteers, or?
The restoration, you mean?
Yeah.
It was a core group. Yeah, okay. We had about 4 people from our from the History Center who did a lot of the work on it. They wrote the text for the brochure, or the booklet that's in there that kind of sets a context for what the film is like. Okay. And but all of the History Center, from the board of directors on down, has been really helpful.
Okay.
One of the nice things about the History Center is our research facility. That is where most of the volunteers work. We have over 13,000 photographs online available for researchers at any time by going to traversehistory.org.
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 Okay.
And that is the bulk of our work. So these kinds of projects give a little bit more to flesh out those pictures.
Sure.
But if we have researchers come from all over the country that are looking for grandma and grandpa, or great grandma and grandpa, and they could be in Scottsdale, Arizona, and do family history research on the internet, and then they come in to see us and say, hey, well, I want to see this book that has this. And so we get people who are on the spur of the moment, just leave Arizona or wherever they're from and come into town because they're looking for the kind of information that we have there.
Sure, not just a museum at the History Center, but also a very extensive research collection.
Exactly,
for things
yes.
like that. Dennis, what did it mean to you personally to work on this? You kind of, I mean, you were the coordinator, the one that kind of took this and ran with it. What did it mean with, personally to you?
Well, history is not just dry numbers that you get in high school, unfortunately. Maybe not so much today. It's an adventure. It's storytelling. And we all like to sit around the campfire and hear a good story.
Sure.
And that's what the History Center does. It presents these people in their context. This is the story of Traverse City. So as I started working on the film, and I was going through the newspapers and finding the people's names and finding when they got married and when they passed away, unfortunately, reading obituaries and and things like that, I got to know them, and I got the whole story on them. And so it wasn't just Traverse City in 1940, but it was the people of Traverse City in 1940.
Exactly. Are some of those stories going to be coming out during the premiere
yeah,
at the State Theater?
Well, the History Center has ongoing programs, so that's one of the benefits of membership is we do these monthly programs. And so we're hoping to do a program later on of what happened to these people past that time and before. And with the 1940 census just being released, I'm hoping to find some more threads that'll give us a little bit more information that I didn't have when doing the initial research on this.
Okay, good. And Maddie, you're at the History Center every single day working there and doing the exhibits. Why is it so important to retain history and for people to come in there and learn about the Traverse City history?
I don't think, well, when you learn history, you remember what you came from. And you have to keep history to keep moving forward.
Sure.
Because you learn from history, you learn from mistakes and from good things that happened.
Sure.
And I think when a town has a big, fresh history, I think it's a warmer place to be. A town that has a memory, a good memory, which
Sure.
this town really has a fun, exciting memory.
Sure.
It gives more things to do. Like we have the state hospital, which a lot of visitors don't know about. My family's from Torch Lake area.
Right.
We never came to Traverse City.
Ah, okay.
And so that's a big point. Whenever my family comes up, I'm like, gotta go to the state hospital. And gotta go walk through downtown, because downtown was a happening place, and then it kind of quieted down, and now it's more.
It's booming now.
Yeah, it's a very fun place to be.
Sure,
And
sure.
without that history, no one would know that. And I think it brings more interest to the buildings to know what that building was before, or what was on this road before. Why is the front street right by the bay? And why isn't houses on the bay?
And what the bay used to be.
Yeah,
what it
how it
used
was
to-
industrial and
Yeah.
now it's fun to play in.
Right,
Like before
exactly.
you would not go in there.
Exactly.
So it's pretty neat to go down and see Curly Crandall's gas station. He's in this film, you know? It's so cool because how many people in Traverse City drive by that corner of 8th and Union Street all the time?
Sure, sure.
And we see that beautiful Art Deco gas station, and here's Curly Crandall out in front of
It's
the
right
thing.
there.
You know?
Why don't we go ahead and run another clip from the movie? Maybe some shopping downtown. Or we also have a clip of the Wolverine Cafe. And this will give us an idea of some of the things you're going to see in the film.
Our young couple, Joe and Mary, they go through Traverse City and they're going to these different businesses. For example, we've got Pete's Cafe here. That's the You and I bar today. And everybody remembers that I've talked to of a certain age, remembers Pete's motto was, the fish you ate today slept last night in Grand Traverse Bay. And of course, Pete would always go out and greet every one of his customers personally, I'm sure. There's a lot of handshaking in this movie. If you don't know what to do, you shake somebody's hand. And so that's the You and I today.
It is so neat. I mean, obviously that looks a little bit different, but a lot of the things downtown you can see. The buildings are the same. And,
James Electric was on Union Street, kitty corner from the current post office. And I haven't been able to find out what this young man's name is, but I've had younger people, when he opens up this refrigerator, say, "What's that in the center of the refrigerator?" And you say, "Watch," and they look at, "Oh, it's an ice cube maker."
You mean it doesn't come out of the door?
It doesn't come out of the door. Isn't that amazing? So.
Well, that'll be great for kids to watch this too. They'll learn a little bit of history real quick. You know?
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed. A lot of little kids don't understand history, like, because their grandparents are my parents' age and they don't see things like this. I grew up with my grandparents still having stuff like this, but not anymore. So I think they would find it interesting.
If you wanted ice cream, you had to go get ice cream. You didn't have it in the freezer. This is a dishwasher, which I didn't realize they had them in 1940 already.
Now, after the premiere, are you going to be playing this film again anywhere in the future, or in the History Center itself, or?
We've got 2 copies of the film that are available for people to come down at the History Center and pop it into a computer and watch it for themselves if they like. And it's a frame-by-frame restoration, so you can freeze on individual frames and see the details.
And the quality is just amazing. They did a great job. And you had to send it out to a company, and it's very professional. It's a great color restoration. You can really tell that details. You said even a newspaper that you couldn't read in the original.
Right.
They popped that up so you could read that in the restoration. That's amazing.
The color is so lush, as you've noticed. You know, it's just really nice.
It's fun to watch.
And it's wintertime, so it's hard to get good color in wintertime anyway.
And it's not just downtown. They even had shots of the peninsula and things like that. So that's really cool. Let's talk again about the premiere. one more time, tell people how they can go to the premiere, where they can get the tickets, what's going to be there, things like that.
Okay, so the day of the premiere, you can either join us at the Hannah Park and the History Center, or you can come in for the Heritage Days and you can purchase a $5 movie ticket and a $5 pass to the Heritage Days. But if you do both, you can just buy it for $10. And if you don't want to come to Heritage Days, you can go down to the State Theater and you can purchase a ticket for $5. And like I said, the proceeds all come to the History Center. And
But what if I come down to the Hanalei Park and I'm hungry?
Oh, good question. We have great heritage.
Fishing down there in the river.
We have great places here that are celebrating their heritage this year. We have sledders who I'm working on to come and join us and have a booth. They're 130 years this year on, I think it's September 12th is their 130th birthday.
Wow.
And then Little Bohemia, which used to be Little Bo's, they're celebrating 80 years of being, it wasn't always Little Bo's, but it's always been owned by a Bohemian family and always been in that location. So they're celebrating it and they've agreed and we're trying to get you and I.
I'll be there.
You and I will be there.
But we're trying to get them to come because that's another heritage of just even, we want to bring you back, not just to the 40s, but to remember when.
Sure.
So it should be exciting. And Potter's Bakery would done it this year, but they're going to do it for sure next year with us.
Great.
But they're doing their new store this year. She goes, oh, I'm too overwhelmed. But I was like, don't worry, I'll ask you next year.
Ah, that's cool.
So I won't go hungry if I come down to
Oh, most definitely not. And then we have Maritime Heritage Alliance agreed to help us out, and they'll have their Voyager canoes as long as one of their little schooners, and they're going to have reenactors, and we'll have a bunch of different reenactors. We'll have a powwow that day with the tribe, and we're trying to unite a bunch of different historical groups and heritage groups all in one day, so it's a one-stop shop.
September 8th, is that on a Thursday?
It's actually a Saturday.
Saturday, September 8th.
Yeah.
Saturday, September 8th.
Starts at 10 o'clock, ends at 3:30, just in time for the premiere.
Just to go down to the film at the State Theater.
Yeah.
Okay. Dennis, anything else more about the film or maybe some surprises you'll see in it? Or
Well, I don't want to give anything away.
Okay.
Joe and Mary in the film have a bit of a conflict. You know, every good story has to have its conflict.
Sure.
And she wants to enter into the Movie Queen contest, and Joe will have none of that.
Okay.
So it's kind of a deal breaker for her. I mean, she's a modern woman, and she wants to be in the Movie Queen contest because this is like the American Idol of 1940. Sure. She wants to go to Hollywood for fame and fortune.
you can see a little portion of that in this clip.
Hard-looking guy.
That building
It looks
Look at that.
identical.
Yeah, it's
Isn't that
still
cool?
the same, which is really, really cool.
So one of those is Curly there coming out to help get the car all ready, and 'cause that was in the days of full service. We'll have to do another show on what full service meant in the gas station business
Some
back in
countries still do it.
1980. Some places.
And this is the kind of the things that are in the movie that is just so fun to sit down and watch and say, hey, I know that building. That building
Sure.
is still there. I drive by it every day.
Absolutely.
And you get the added addition of a nice little story, including.
And it brings up questions.
Yeah, you always wonder, how long has it been there?
Yeah,
what's
which is
the
great
call?
because it'll bring up questions and people
come
can
in.
visit the History Center of Traverse City to get the answers, right?
Yeah.
That's a great.
What was that
way
called
to do that.
chimney for? you
Yeah.
know? There's a shot of a gentleman downtown when they were showing downtown, and there's a guy in a big raccoon coat. Who is he?
Right.
I don't know. There's a guy that plays a newspaper boy. He's in a lot of the shots. Nobody has been able to identify him for me.
Now,
Here comes Mary.
The interesting thing is when you show this at the State Theater, you may get people who come, obviously out of curiosity to see, and then they might say, hey, that was my neighbor or my parents' neighbor.
Which is what we want.
Sure. So you're looking for additional information as well with the premiere at the State Theater.
Yeah, it's like a continuous project. It's a growing project.
Yeah, Joe, he's trying to laugh this off. No, I don't think so, Mary, but
Good try.
yeah.
Have a nice day.
Hey, heck with you, buddy. We're
So-
done.
So it is cool. It's a little bit of a story involved
yeah.
in there as well. So that's
definitely.
fun. Anything else, Dennis, about this whole project and how it, how it's going to bode well for the future of Traverse City? This will always be around in the archives.
Yeah, it certainly will, and it's important to show us where we came from, and where we want to go. These people made a lot of changes. I talked to people who were involved in the film, and they say, "Well, I was just a housewife. I wasn't involved with da 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 da." And you start talking to them, and then, well, you did this, you did that, you raised your kids, you were involved in the schools. They don't realize
how much they've done.
Exactly so. And so it kind of puts a little spotlight on the other folks, which we are hoping to do with the Legends Project too.
Sure.
There's a scene in the film where the idea was to get as many people on camera as possible, because then they would all come and see the film, and it was a fundraiser. So you want to have people coming down to watch the film.
Sure.
So they have all these, for lack of a better term, bald white guys walking by the camera, for their 2 seconds of fame. And the queens that are in the film is really where you see the women are involved. But when you talk to people later, you find out, well, they did a whole lot for Traverse City too. They just weren't on camera. So we need to be able to bring that out too. And that's where the Legends Project will help us do that.
So it sounds like the History Center of Traverse City is extremely busy with the Heritage Days, the premiere of We're in the Movies, which is on September 8th, don't forget that, and then the Legends Project, which is coming. For those of you who just came into town, the History Center is located on 6th Street. It is right across from the Reynolds Yonkoff Funeral Home, which is one of the largest homes in Traverse City, so a lot of people will see that first, as maybe if they're turning on from Union. But the History Center is right there on 6th Street, and it is a marvelous building, an old-fashioned old Carnegie Library.
Which is pretty amazing that we got a Carnegie Library in 1902.
Yeah.
Well, got the agreement in 1902.
Right, it is a great situation there in Traverse City. So not only, don't forget the premiere on September 8th, Heritage Days on September 8th, the Legends exhibit at the History Center of Traverse City, as well as the Lego exhibit is going to be an annual situation. Of course, don't forget the train show that's coming up.
Which actually starts December 15th.
December 15th is the train show, so there's a lot going on. Enjoy the history of Traverse City. Come on down to the History Center, check it out. This is a great movie to bring your family to the State Theater on September 8th. Tickets are only $5, so that's a great afternoon. It's a great afternoon. Come see what Traverse City used to look like and how much fun people used to have in 1940. How about a phone number for the History Center of Traverse City?
231-995-0313, and we have a new phone system.
Okay.
So it has an answering machine right away. Just press 0 to talk to an operator.
Okay, great. Well, let's take a look at one more clip from 1940, We're in the Movies. Now, the Wolverine Cafe was right in downtown Traverse City?
It was in the Whiting Hotel.
Okay, in the Whiting Hotel.
And there's a lot of people in this film clip, for example, that we have not been able to identify and be fun to talk to them.
Okay.
Like a little kid going to the bar.
Yeah. I like the belt across the back of the jacket. I remember that was
That's the fun part is looking at what they were wearing back then too. Yeah.
And that's how everybody dressed up
Very
every
formal.
day. Yeah, like you never saw women out without their hair done.
Sure.
Or
men wore ties.
Yeah.
All the time.
That's just a normal casual wear. As we would think casual is you have to slightly dress up.
Sure.
And look at his college coat.
It's just fun to see, and I think you are going to get a large majority of people coming to watch the premiere on September 8th, and hopefully they'll come and identify some more people that you're trying to find in the movie and bring back a flood of memories as well.
Yeah, it's interesting that a lot of the younger men were wearing, everybody was wearing a double-breasted jacket.
Sure.
Sure. Notice the sleeves on the young ladies, little puff sleeves.
And the collars.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and we're all wearing 1940 clothing, so we premiere the movie a little more, so you're more than welcome to come.
So come in costume.
Come in costume.
Come in 1940s.
Make it more like you're there.
Okay, and bring your cars. If you have the 40s era cars, I know a lot of you are collectors out there. Go ahead and bring your car to the premiere on September 8th at the State Theater. And, just get into the fun theme of 1940. That's your chance to really do it up for 1940 that evening. And I'm going to speak for the City of Traverse City and thank you guys very much, the History Center of Traverse City, specifically Dennis, for finding the film in the archives and restoring it, writing the grant, getting it all finished so that we can enjoy this little slice of Traverse City history. So thank you very much.
Yep, come back, visit us in time.
Great.
Oh, yes.
Thank you very much, Dennis and Maddie. It was great talking to you.
Okay.
Thanks for watching.